We're going to dive right into it in my review of my last book of 2024, which is The Last Unicorn. This is a fantasy read written by Peter S. Beagle in 1968. There's a movie that came out about it. I've watched the movie now, and I've even watched other videos breaking down this book to see what I might have been missing, because the truth is, this was a disappointing read for me. It was a 3-star read. I can see how, if you appreciate this certain type of writing style, that you would like it, but it reminds me a lot of how Howl's Moving Castle was written, but I actually enjoyed Howl's Moving Castle more. I'm a literal reader. I've learned a lot about myself in reading The Last Unicorn, where I just appreciate things being taken literally. My reading experience for this, in the beginning, it was okay, and I thought it was going to turn a corner, and then it never really did for me. It is a fantasy book about these concepts in fantasy, and it kind of breaks some type of fourth wall with how the characters refer to themselves. Like, I'm a hero, this is what a hero does in a story, that type of dialogue. And I was trying, there's all these like videos breaking down the meanings, the different themes of these books. And I want to be able to just enjoy a book and not, and like, yes, think about it after, but have it hit that emotional impact with me while I'm reading it, not in my reflection of it. Like, if it's over my head while I'm reading it, I'm not going to enjoy it as much. Yeah, so the one theme that like I can kind of gather was like, oh, ignorance is bliss. Like, I don't want to constantly be questioning what the author meant when they wrote something. I don't know what that says about me as a reader, but that's just how I am. Like, I like things being literal. What I liked about this book, I liked that the ending was not predictable. I didn't agree with the ending either, but I definitely didn't predict it. Where now I think a lot of fantasies, a lot of romance fantasies, you kind of like see what's happening, what's coming. This one did not. I think that's part of the reason why there was so much like layering and lessons and meaning in the book that people can take from it. But it didn't have a predictable ending at all. I liked how the unicorn wasn't really written to be this, while she was technically the main character. I don't think a lot of people who've read this book or watched the movie would say that the unicorn was their favorite character. She was very vain, but it was matter of fact about the nature of unicorns. It wasn't really seen as a character flaw. So that was really interesting to me, like how she was written and how it was just like matter of fact that like, this is how unicorns are, is that they don't feel these human emotions. And then she obviously comes to feel certain human emotions. I also like the teasing dialogue of the book, like especially that skull scene, and how the skull's talking and how he like really wants the wine. Like, I appreciate that humor because that got me through. Those are the best parts of the book to me, that were enjoyable to read. Okay, now going on to my list of what I didn't like when I was reading the book. In the beginning of the book, I also liked how the movie really closely followed the book too. I appreciate that. But what I didn't like about the story was, in the beginning of the book, she is happy as a clam in her forest. And then one hunter leaves the forest and mentions how, like, hey, be happy, unicorn, you're the last unicorn. And then after, who knows, millennia in this forest, she's like, I'm the last unicorn. I've got to go on this grand adventure to find the other unicorns. That to me was like, really? You took one comment that like a random dude said in your forest, and now you're putting your whole life like uprooting yourself? That, I'm like, obviously this isn't real. I know it's a fantasy, but like, that's really not realistic to me about this unicorn, and the nature of unicorns that you're telling us. I'm like, that seems far-fetched. And also they're solitary creatures too. Like, why is she so obsessed about finding these other unicorns? I never really understood that, like why she was so obsessed about finding the other unicorns, other than the fact that like, oh, this is weird. But like, she's a solitary creature, so what's the big deal for her? I didn't like how I was constantly questioning the book and the meaning behind everything single thing a character says. But then in looking back, I'm like, wow, there seems to be a lot of superfluous detail too in commentary that was in the book that didn't really ever seem relevant later on. But yet then a character would say like one word and it would like carry all this meaning in the book. I just didn't like that. I didn't like how I couldn't just relax and enjoy the book, or just be paying attention and enjoy the book. Like I had to constantly be questioning, like, what did they mean? What did they, I wasn't reading this for it to be a giant mystery book. And I just don't want to be in a constant state of confusion. I didn't understand how the unicorn was like not feeling Prince Lear for a while. And I understand that it was like her gradually forgetting herself, but it literally is like, she asked him to sing a song for her to help her forget like these dreams. And then all of a sudden she's like, I love you. That just, again, didn't seem like realistic, like good character development to me. I'm like, what the frick? Like, is it supposed to be making fun of how like characters can flip a switch like that? Like, I just thought that was not the best. I'm a literal person, I've learned reading this book. When they said that the unicorns were in the sea, my mind, I don't know if I'm the only one, but my mind immediately went to like, oh my gosh, did he anchor? They're immortal. So like, are they in a constant state of drowning? And he literally weighed them down to the bottom of the ocean and that's where they're hiding? Or like that's where my mind went. But in the book and in the movie, it was clearly not meant to be taken literally, because it shows the like mini unicorns like cresting on the wave and crashing, and then of course the unicorns like get free from the ocean and like run out. But it seemed like in the book and the movie, it was like the spirit of the unicorns was trapped, and then when their spirit felt free enough to come to shore, then that's when they materialized back into like unicorns. That's what it, like, in reflection, it seems like they meant. Where for me, I'm like, no, I'm trying to know, like, did he weigh them down? Is he like, I've learned that in this book too. Like, I want literal things that happen to understand that concept and how he went about trapping them. How some characters would prattle on and then it would mean little to nothing later on in the book, or at least I couldn't pinpoint like what that meant. But then one word from a character, I think I've already said that, but that really bothered me. What were they planning on doing once they got to sorry, I'm like shaking the camera. What were they planning on doing when they got to the Red Bull's lair? So she goes on this journey to find the last unicorns. Girl, what was your plan? What was your game plan? To find what? And then when you heard about this Red Bull that was like this villain and this thing that was going to like kill you, you had no plan. For an immoral creature who's like super wise, you literally had no plan but just like meeting this Red Bull. And then when you were in the king's castle and trying to get to the Red Bull's lair, but you were previously like ran off, petrified for your life, couldn't defend yourself, in fear of your life, and then you had to be changed to a human to save your life, and then you're trying to go to Red Bull's lair again to save the unicorns. Like, you brought no weapons. You brought no special spells. What was the game plan? Obviously, if you read this book, if you watch the movie, you know like what she does to defeat the Red Bull. Far-fetched. Like, you had no plan. I'm a girl with a plan. I'm a type A personality. So that really was like mind-boggling to me. How this story was mostly about her trying to find the last unicorn or the other unicorns, and find that like defeating this Red Bull, and they never once mentioned like a plan of action or an idea to take down the Red Bull. It was all about finding his lair. Like, girl, you saw him a few chapters ago and you couldn't defend yourself against a Red Bull. So those are my thoughts on The Last Unicorn. There are many YouTube videos of people being like, this is an incredible book. I loved it. And I'm really happy for them because I wanted to read this. I want to be one of those distinguished fantasy readers that like loves the classics. And I had high hopes for this because I haven't read a book on unicorns yet. But it wasn't for me. And that's that. And now I'm wrapping up 2024 and I can't wait for the books I'm going to be reading in 2025. And thank you for watching. If you've watched this far, bye guys. Happy New Year.